Hello everybody and welcome to another week of the Frenzy Extra. I'm Andy Lacombe. We are coming to you from St. Peter Marian Central Catholic High School here high above Worcester, where the Guardians are getting ready for Doherty this week, our game of the week. And now we look back first to our last game of the week, Northbridge and Auburn, and the Rams impressive in the victory. The players say it was an important win for the team.
We came out knowing Auburn's a good team. They're going to give a good fight. And just being able to spread the ball, put up some points, and the zero for the defense, that's huge.
Great win, and Auburn's always got our number, and they always come out fighting. But we definitely did our job on both sides of the ball, and came away with a great win.
How good can the offense be, or was it today?
I think our offense played great, and we always have our key guys like Kobe and Jake, but it's definitely great today to definitely get a few different guys getting the ball and punching it in here and there. And I always tell Kobe and Jake every game, you guys do your thing on offense, and I'll hold it down on defense for them. And that's just how we played today.
O-line did a great job, and the D-line did great too. I feel that we're improving every week, which is our goal. We still need to get better. We still need to work on a few things on both sides of the ball, but we're definitely in the right heading in the right direction.
Grafton next week, when do you start getting ready, and what do you have to do to keep this thing rolling the way you guys want it to go?
We're getting ready for Grafton right now. We're on to the next game. And like Coach Law said, that was step 3. Now we're on to step 4. And we're going to prepare for them all week long. We're going to focus down. We're going to watch our film. We're going to have a good week of practice. And then we're going to come out Friday night like we always do.
All right, to our game of the week now. And first to Doherty. And the Highlanders are off to a perfect 3-0 start. They said that was an important thing for this program. And now they get ready for St. Peter Marian, a good rivalry game and one that players on both sides look for every year.
Well, last year, we just got off to the wrong start, lost the first game. And this year, we're on a roll, just been taking it 1 week at a time, slowly working our way up to, at the end playing at Gillette.
We've been working hard through the off season, trying to get to this point where we are right now. And SPM coming up is a really big game because we have a little chip on our shoulder. Last year, they beat us twice. So this year we're looking to beat them.
Coming into the season, we all knew that we have a lot of new players playing a bunch of different positions, but we adjusted 3-0 now. Couldn't be happier where we are, and just go out, work hard every day, and get success out of it. SPM ended our career last year, and I've had a chip on my shoulder since then, along with all the other guys. And we're going to go out this week, practice like hell. And then Saturday, come 2 o'clock, we're going to play like hell.
Games are really intense. You just look up in the crowd, see everybody, even people that don't even go to SPM or Doherty. So you just look across, and it's just like a war.
It's always intense. It's always, I would say, the best game of the year for me because I would say they are our biggest rivalry. They come prepared, and we bring it too.
Well, not much different when it comes to the excitement and the anticipation for this game up here at St. Peter Marian. They're getting ready for Doherty. They know a lot of the guys on that side of the field as well, and they say this one is always a hard-hitting, physical matchup, an important game for SPM.
It's definitely a huge game that we mark on our calendars. I know traditionally, like St. John's is the big rival, maybe Holy Name, but to us it's definitely Doherty. We've been waiting for this one all year, so we're excited.
Every year this team comes out fired up for Doherty. It's just that inner city games. Everybody gets fired up. Everyone knows each other. It's just a big thing for everybody around here.
Every year, it's always a battle. Things might get chippy, but I guess it's kind of like what makes it fun. You just got to keep our composure, stay cool, and, hopefully go down like last year. We hope we get a win.
Doherty's a big athletic team, so we just got to execute. We can't make mistakes against a good team like that. They're well coached. They're fast. So we can't give the game away. We got to win it on the line and execute. Our first 2 wins against Groton and Shrewsbury, we kind of ran the ball down their throat in the second half. I thought we just did well finishing games so far, so hopefully we can keep that up.
Obviously, we're coming off a tough loss to Leominster. It's our homecoming game, so we're all going to be ready.
I think it's a big week for us. We were tested last week. It was a hard loss, but it's nothing we should hang our heads over. And I think this week will say a lot about us, a lot about our character, a lot about us as a team.
All right, with the Guardians head coach Tom Hendrickson now, and coach, you're 2-1, coming off a tough game with Leominster, the #1 team in the area, but you get ready for Doherty this week in the city. Always a big game. What are your thoughts going in?
Oh, our kids are always ready for this. I mean, since I've been here, it's been a battle with Doherty year in, year out. Sean's always got them ready to play. We'll have our kids ready to play. It's going to be a war.
What do you guys need to do well week in and week out? But this week, as you get ready for the Highlanders, what were the keys for the Guardians so far?
We got to, coming off the Leominster loss, they showed us a few things that we have to work on, and we got to get the ship right defensively. And it's tough. We know the things we got to fix, and that's what we're working on this week. And having our kids attack, wrap up. Vasa's a big back. We got to hit them often, wrap them up.
Having the seniors that you do and some of the upperclassmen that have been through things like this, how important are they this week and going forward for you?
Oh, their experience is huge. A lot of my seniors have been starting since sophomores, and they are tough kids, and they're battle-tested. They're ready. I mean, we've already played 3 extremely tough teams. Shrewsbury was very good. Groton Dunstable's a lot better than people are giving them credit for. And, of course, Leominster's the number 4 team in the state. So our kids are ready. They've been shown the battle, and now it's time out to win the war.
It's never an easy kind of schedule for you the rest of the way, but for Doherty this week, it's a city game, so it's a rivalry game. The kids know each other pretty well. You say it's going to be a war. What are your expectations this week?
I expect a hard-hitting, physical game and one in the trenches. We watch them play. They watch us. We're going to come right at you. We're going to punch them right in the mouth, and they're planning on doing the same, I'm sure. This game's going to be one in the line.
Coach, good luck to you on Saturday. It is our high school football game of the week on Charter TV3. St. Peter Marion hosting Doherty. You can see it on Charter TV3 beginning at 7. Our coverage on channel 193. A big honor for a Central Mass football player. We first told you about this last week on the Friday Night Football Frenzy. Offensive lineman Sean Reagan from St. John's getting a national recognition from the U.S. Marine Corps. He'll play in the Semper Fidelis All-American Bowl next year, early next year, but it's a big honor for this big fella for the Pioneers.
The reason for the selection of the All-American Bowl is because it ties in well to the leadership potential that we seek in America's youth. Being a well-rounded young man and a well-rounded young citizen of our country is the criteria that is used for the selection for the Semper Fidelis All-American Bowl. Sean has shown to be a well-rounded young man and shown leadership potential at this point in his life, and that is why he's selected for the Semper Fidelis All-American Bowl.
I'm really excited, obviously, for the chance to play in the Semper Fidelis All-American Bowl. It's really humbling to stand for what the military does. It's just what they do every day. Like, we owe them everything pretty much, and I'm just really excited that I got chosen for this opportunity, and it's definitely going to make me better in the future.
Anytime you turn the TV on Saturday and watch the great programs across the country, you see the talent level of, Division I football in the country, and for Sean to be considered among the elite and represent St. John's and his teammates in an all-star game like this is a real honor for all of us, and we're real proud of the hard work that he's put in to put himself in a position to go to the next level and showcase his talents with the best players in the country.
Time for a quick break. When we come back, we go inside the studio. Kevin Shea and Jim Wilson break down the big matchups in Week 4.
Welcome back, everyone. Kevin Shea, and I am joined with Jim Wilson, the high school sports editor from the Telegram and Gazette and Home Team Magazine. And Willie, a lot to talk about this week. As always, we can look back at some big games, look ahead to some big games coming up as well. Let's look back first. Leominster and St. Peter Marion. Leominster continuing their undefeated run. They beat a very good St. Peter Marion team a week ago.
Exactly. I mean, that's what you kind of thought would be both, two, because they lost the game, but St. Peter Marion is going to be just fine. It's actually a great loss for them, because they competed with them. They didn't get blown out. They played with them till the end. Larry continued to get better every week, show he's healthy. That's a great test for them. Leominster just took care of business. It was a game they had to win, because you don't want to go into, especially with Division II, we'll get to that later, just being a toss-up right now. Division II is all, there's not one gorilla in Division II to sort of you got to worry about, because every team, as last week showed, a lot of upsets, not really upsets, but I mean teams are starting to get shaken out right now to see who's contending.
Frank's hurt in that game, in that Leominster game. This would be a big loss for the Blue Devils. We'll have to see how serious that injury is. St. Peter Marion showing, though, that they can move the ball on the ground and in the air. They're not a one-dimensional team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with they're just one of those teams, like everybody thinks O'Leary's going to come in and just really do damage, you know, because all preseason he was talking about how his weapons have increased. His receivers are on the same page. They've been working against since early July. He's showing that, but they haven't had to have that air attack to win a game yet. They get some great running backs, and I think that's, you know, they a huge line. It's one of the most underrated things about them. You know, similar to how Northbridge, nobody talks about their defense, the line on St. Peter Marion's overshadowed because they have so many other weapons in other places.
No, you're right. Leary and Baldino and everyone, the skill guys get all the publicity, but that line is what drives the engine for St. Peter Marion. Neshoba beating Wachusett on the road. This Neshoba team is for real. They're very good. We talked about them last week. They've looked outstanding each and every week, especially maybe a slow start week 1, but week 2 beating Shrewsbury. Then that was on the road. And then they beat Wachusett last night. Wachusett coming off a big victory over Fitchburg. This Neshoba team showing a lot of speed in that game against Wachusett. That was what the difference in this game was, Neshoba's speed. Too much for the Mountaineers.
Exactly. Another underrated aspect, Neshoba's line is another big asset to that team. They said the team speed. Wachusett didn't have an answer. This was Neshoba's coming out party, sort of show they belong. I mean, especially after we went on this big rant about Wachusett last weekend, and that's when it happens. And next thing you know, Neshoba comes in and just knocks them down. Looks really good in doing it. You know, Neshoba, the win over Algonquin was one of those. It wasn't an impressive win. You kind of think, you know, opening week you want to see them a little bit more there. They beat Shrewsbury, but they didn't have that signature win yet. That last week was. Beating Wachusett the way they did, like you said, just rushing past them, dominating the line of scrimmage. That was a big eye-opening win. They got Shepherd Hill coming up. That's going to be another big test for them.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge test, and we'll get into Wachusett, too, coming up and who they're playing this week. One thing about that game that opened some eyes, Wachusett has a passing attack. They don't, you know, Mike Dubzinski doesn't like to throw the football. As one source close to the family told me, they may have thrown more in that time than any Dubzinski coach team has thrown in an entire season. But with Ryan McCarthy out there, with Zotterly out there, they have weapons. With McCarthy, I love the fade. Send it right down the sideline, hang it high, let McCarthy go up one-on-one, and more often than not, he's either going to draw the flag for pass interference or he's going to haul it in himself. Had a great touchdown catch in that game where he just out-leaped and out-fought the defender.
Exactly, and that's what they need. They know it's a matchup thing. I think they're more like you look at a team like the Patriots in the NFL. So what does it take for us to win this game? And obviously they thought going to the passing attack last week. And then, you know, just to make up for lost time, he might run the ball 100 times this week. Right,
and that's the thing. And he'll wait for okay, do we have 4 or 5 guys dropping back? Are they dropping into a shell? Good, perfect. We're going to run the wing
It's like the blood moon. He wants to. Now it's time to pass. It's the last time you're going to see it for years now.
That's it. Not since 1982, and you won't see it again for another 35 years. Northbridge and Auburn, you talk about a statement win. Northbridge, we've talked about their defense, a shutout. The offense putting up 51 points. 3 shutouts, but shutting out an Auburn team that, you know, this is a team that went to overtime with Doherty, was up 14-0 at the half at Doherty week 1, and they rolled up 51 points on an Auburn team that has always had a really stingy defense. And I saw them against Doherty. They're a fast team, Auburn. They hit hard. They're a physical team. This is a win that I think you look at this now and say, okay, you know what? Northbridge can play with anyone in Central Mass.
Saturday morning, I was in CVS trying to buy Sully a card. I had with 51 points. He's just wandering around aimless like a homeless person in Auburn. He has no idea. I mean, he's never had that. Auburn is a very prideful team, just based on their history. I know after the game, there's a lot of back and forth, you know, count the rings type of thing, because Auburn, they know they get handled. It's not often they get bullied.
No.
But I think that's how good Northbridge is. Like we said all the time, Northbridge's defense is lights out. If they didn't have such a Madden offense, you know, we're just putting up points like crazy, a lot more people will say, look, they haven't allowed a point all year. It's 3 straight shutouts against a pretty good schedule.
Yes.
So they have that coming up. I know they have Grafton this week, another tough test for them. But if they can stop O'Brien, and I think they have the personnel on defense, so not let him get his carries, but not like a back-breaking type of workload for him. They should have. They're looking to get another win this week.
And that's the thing too. And we'll look at one more game from last week, and then we'll look ahead with that Northbridge and Grafton, especially. I'm
a forward thinker.
Grafton, you're always moving forward. Was that Winston Churchill? Always moving forward, never retreat. So then you look at this Grafton Northbridge game. defensively, what does Grafton do to try to slow down? Because you can't stop Northbridge's offense. The only thing you can hope to do is put a parachute around them and slow them down.
Right.
You know, the best you can do right now, looking at what Northbridge has done the first 3 weeks of the season, is hold them to like 24 points, 28 points. That's a moral victory. So are you going to be able to score 31 against Northbridge? That's the only way I see a team beating them is a team's got to score in the 30s and they got to hold them to the 20s, and that's holding them. But how do you do that? Because we've said it before, they can send 4 guys vertical, and, you know, like Melifanu is a very good defensive back. Now he can only cover 1 guy. So now you get 4 guys going vertical. Their backs are to the line of scrimmage trying to cover. Kobe Schofer takes off. He's 25 yards down the field before anyone even knows he's got the ball tucked under his arm. Then how are you going to stop him? How are you going to tackle him? He's a stronger, faster Kobe Schofer, if there was a faster Kobe Schofer from last year. It's just, they're incredible to try to stop. How do you stop that team?
It's one thing looking at your huddle and trying to see, you know, how you look at what Schofer does and try to stop him, because like I said, easy said and done. You get a scout team kid on, you know, trying to ghost him for the practice all week. Then you see the real thing on a Friday night. It's a different story altogether. And then they say, like I said, put a parachute around. It says a lot to that team when teams are trying to play for them for moral victories.
Right.
You know, it's we only allowed 24 points. That's less. You know, that just shows how good their offense is. Because then if you slow down Schofer, he's got Jake Wood, he's got Chandler Brooks, and they can do some damage on their own. I mean, any other team, they'd be the focus. We've been talking about them all the time. You know, Schofer's a special kid.
And the thing is, too, now if you put a spy on Schofer, so you put either a linebacker or you take a linebacker out, bring another safety in, and you have them spy on Schofer, now you're taking someone else out of coverage or out of the rush. You're going to give him more time. Now you got 1 or 2 guys that have one-on-one coverage. Right. And if he has time, not even if he has time, and these guys, like you mentioned, Brooks, they can get, these guys, Jake Wood, they can get open real quickly and real easily. They can get behind someone. And so now you got the spy, pick your poison. He dumps it over the top. You got an 80-yard touchdown. And you're scratching your head going, okay, well, what do we do now?
It's Kenny LaChapelle. He's prepared for a spy. You know, he's begging you to spy him.
Yes, that's exactly right. One more game that we look back at, and then we'll go forward for the rest of the show. Shrewsbury and Shepherd Hill. This was a huge win for the Colonials. I mean, they're a team that started off a lot of, you know, some tough losses against good teams, but real tough losses. A huge win against a team that you and I both had ranked really high up there in Central Mass and had a lot of respect for and still have a lot of respect for.
Oh, yeah.
But right now, we're tipping our hat to Shrewsbury saying you just beat one heck of a football team.
I'm not like some people who dumped him out of the poll after this one loss. I think
that's clearly people that don't know the game. You know what I mean? Come on. Go back to...
You're lucky you don't use Twitter. He'd be all over you for that.
You're watching lawn darts, you're watching some other sport because you're not watching high school football. If you dump Shepherd Hill out, they should still be a top 5 team
they're up
in my estimation.
But I can see the point because they're 0-3, but they played 3 Division II teams. That's how good Shepherd Hill is. People look at that and say they're 0-3, but they're still a Division IV team.
Right.
They're still, but they're playing, and their whole schedule is pretty much because they're in the Midwatch A. They're still playing a lot of Division II teams. The whole bulk of the schedule. The problem is now they're 0-3. They're going to make the playoffs.
I know.
They need wins, and we'll get into this later with a team. It's just like this is a good Week 4 type of must-win games because if Shepherd Hill, their schedule being as it is, they can't chase wins. They can't hope I'm sure they were thinking week 1 and 2, they were very competitive. I think both games were about 10. One was 11-point loss to St. John's, 10-point loss to Leominster. Very competitive for what they wanted to do. I'm sure that's exactly what they were hoping to going into week 3. Be competitive. Everybody's healthy. Got great tests. So all of a sudden now in their week, the first round of Division IV playoffs, they've seen teams 20 times better than on that Friday night in week 1 and 2.
Right.
Unfortunately, Shrewsbury came in and ruined the party because I think, and I don't know if I don't want to say they're too well coached between Dugan and Lindstrom and all those guys to say we overlooked these guys.
Right.
But Shrewsbury came out and just smacked them in the mouth, and I don't think I think they're hoping for a win to start the train rolling.
Yep.
They had other plans.
Yeah, they ambushed him. Shrewsbury came in. They absolutely ambushed him after 2, as you mentioned, 2 really tough games against St. John's and Leominster, and both games on the road as well. So now, this week, Shepherd Hill has Neshoba. Neshoba's a team that's riding in undefeated, high in the saddle. They've beaten a lot of really good teams. And you and I talked about this is a hungry team. This is a team that I think can play that we don't get a lot of respect card to. They can play that Rodney Dangerfield card that, no one talks about us and no one looks at us because, as we've mentioned, maybe they're not the marquee name like a St. John's or a Leominster, but boy, do they have a lot of good players. And what gets me more than anything about Neshoba, team defense.
Yes.
It's not one or two guys. It's 11 hats to the football. They're real fast. They get penetration up front. Their contain unit comes up strong on the run, but they cover the pass real well, and the linebackers can play whatever you want to play. Sideline to sideline, they can drop in coverage, and they can come up and stuff the run, and that's what they showed against a real tough Wachusett team.
Exactly. And the show was almost like we were talking about Wachusett last week. They don't have that one star like the Zach Humes back when they were winning Super Bowls. They don't have that one or two stud players that can say, okay, go out and win us this game, which is a credit to their, like you said, the team defense. Everybody, a different hero each week. Everybody wants to swarm. And Jake Benjamin's doing a great job in the running game for them, carrying the ball a lot, getting his touches. But like I said, I think with against Shepherd Hill, I think their lines match up pretty well, and so I think that will be a good fight in the trenches. Their defense, it's gonna be a great to see. I can't wait to see this game all of a sudden.
And we're looking at Wachusett and Leominster. Now, this is Wachusett looking to bounce back. Leominster, as we mentioned, Leominster looking to keep that train rolling if they don't have Franks, a standout wide receiver and defensive back for Leominster, and a big part of their offense. He's your number one receiver. He's the one that the quarterback's looking to first, second, and third option just because of how good he is. And then defensively, what he can do. Now, if you're Leominster, you're looking at what Wachusett did throwing to Ryan McCarthy. And I think defensively, they would say, okay, we'll put Franks on McCarthy.
Right.
It's a good matchup. They're both around the same size. They're both basketball players. They can both. It's a good battle. Without Franks in the defensive secondary, if he's out, now that opens a lot more up for McCarthy.
I was talking to somebody else about the same thing. I think they're obviously losing one of the best wide receivers in Central Mass if he's out for a significant amount of time is an issue. But I think on defense, it probably hurts them more. They're going to need people to step up. I don't know if it's Keith or Kyle Jackson, Anthony Dandini. They need guys to come up and just sort of take that pressure off that side of the defense that they're going to lose. Because you're right, they're going to exploit it. They're going to try the running gun Wachusett Mountaineers.
Yes, exactly.
Take advantage of that.
The wide open Oregon spread offense, the blur offense they're running up there on the mountaintop. Doherty, St. Peter Marion, always a game I look forward to. It's our game of the week this week because of the rivalry. This, to me, is old school Miami Notre Dame. Teams are going to come together right out of the tunnel. There's going to be some pushing and shoving. A lot of smack talk in this game before the game, in warm-ups, during the game, after the game. This is where a lot of these kids, a lot of these players on both sides grew up in the same neighborhood. Right. They were best friends in high school. Pop Warner, right, and now they're enemies, and it brings out a big intensity.
Big pride game. I mean, I think Peter Marion coming off that loss, they want to show that was just a blip on their radar. They know not only just for power ranking points, but they just want pride. They want to handle Doherty coming in at 3-0. Coming off a game against South, they took their foot off the gas probably in the second quarter in that one. So I think, Doherty, but Doherty also knows they beat St. Peter Marion, they're for real. That overtime win against Auburn all of a sudden doesn't look as good after that Northbridge game. So I think they want to come in and get their signature win as well.
And this would be really a King of the City win as well. So this is, Doherty's coming in saying, okay, we're the top dog in the inner high. This is for the King of the City right now. Right. Who's the top dog in the city of Worcester? And this one's going to be settled on the field. I'm looking forward to it.
It should be a great one. I think, like I said, both teams have a lot to prove in this one.
All right, we got about 30 seconds. Shrewsbury and Fitchburg. This is a game you and I were talking about as one of those must-win games. Because of the new season, it's only 8 games in the regular season and playoffs, and only the top 4 make it. Last year, it was 8 teams that made it. Fitchburg squeaked in. This year, different story. They got to win this week.
Yeah, Fitchburg started off 0-4 last year and made the playoffs with an 8-team bracket. They're not going to have that luxury this year. They're 0-3. They have 1 offensive touchdown. They need to fix some things fast. A win this weekend's must, or else they're going to be, just looking at the non-playoff games going forward.
Interesting with only 4 teams, top 4 teams making it in each division. All right, we're out of time, Willie. Great job as always.
Bye.
We will see you next week. More of the Frenzy Extra coming up right after this.
College Corner now, and the Holy Cross Football Crusaders coming off a tough loss to the Colgate Raiders a week ago. Holy Cross, they say they're going to try to get some offensive things worked out this week. Their opponent is Albany, and we were there a year ago when the Great Danes shocked Holy Cross with a last-second win up in Albany. So what does Holy Cross do to try to rebound against the Great Danes?
We were able to get out to a 14-3 lead and had a 14-10 advantage going into the fourth quarter. And a couple of things happened. They sustained a drive, scored early in the quarter. We missed a ton of tackles. We missed some opportunities. And it was really, everything seemed like it unraveled to some degree. Part of it was some guys were out with injuries. Part of it was some miscommunications. But it just seemed like one of those days when it rained, it poured. And it really poured on in the fourth quarter, resulting in us giving up 21 unanswered points and ultimately losing the game. Albany's a very good team. I mean, they've played a pretty competitive schedule. They beat URI and Duquesne. And Duquesne's a good team this year, but they also lost some close games to two outstanding teams, Buffalo and JMU, and they moved the ball very well in all of their games. So they're a very potent offense. They're very multiple. There are no weak links on their offense, and I think the same could be said for their defense. They're strong up front. They're very aggressive, athletic on the back end. So they're going to be a big challenge for us on both sides of the ball.
Over to WPI, Zach Grasis, the former David Prouty standout, is in his 5th season with the Engineers and having a pretty good start so far. So for Grasis, it was important to come back to finish strong. He's also living up to a legacy in the family of WPI football.
What have been the keys offensively? You guys are really balanced. You ran the ball well against MIT. Kind of the passing game took center stage at Worcester State because they put 8 guys in the box. Just talk about that balance you have.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I like to run the ball, but they've been loading the box, so we've been taking advantage of that, hitting over the top. So it's been really working, pass and run.
What does it feel like to have that target on your back and to know that the defense, their first order of business for them is stopping the run and stopping you?
It motivates me. I'm thinking about it, but at the same time, you just take it play by play, and you're just trying to break one every time you get the ball. So from that perspective, you're not really thinking about it, but you are thinking about it at the same time.
Your dad played here. What is it like to be a legacy and to be kind of carrying a family tradition on?
I feel like it puts a little bit more on your back. I mean, they were the last undefeated team, so on top of him playing there, that's something that adds to it. But I don't really think about that much. You guys like to talk about it and things like that, but it's there.
What does your dad say about his playing experience or his time here, and how much do you guys talk football or talk about even balancing academics and athletics? All that kind of goes in here at WPI.
He tells me about how it was back then and how the game was. It's not really the game that it is now. It was more hard-nosed, and he was the guy. It wasn't really like the glory guy. Didn't get the all the carries or the pass receptions, but he was the guy making all the blocks and setting up the big plays. And then balancing school, they've always been supportive, my parents, so that's huge for me. So it is tough here to balance athletics and academics, but they make it very easy for me.
And what's it like for you knowing that it's your final year and your final go around of college football?
You just want to play every down like it's your last. There's no going back now. So every game is just doing your best and preparing as best as you can. So I'm excited.
Do you ever tell Coach you want to put the double wing in? You ever go back to your high school days and say, Coach, I think we can throw a wrinkle at someone here?
I had success in the double wing, but I wasn't the biggest fan of it. It worked for us. I feel like we had the players to make it work.
What is your major and what are your plans after college?
My major is management engineering with a focus in mechanical engineering. And I don't really have plans right now. I'm just, finishing school and finishing up football. But, I'd probably go into sales or something along those lines.
To our Dean's List now, and it starts with Obi Melifanu, the former Grafton standout playing at UConn, 12 tackles against Navy. Christian Stonewall Jackson played out of Shrewsbury, now at Merrimack, 11 tackles to lead the team, 2 tackles for a loss against Bentley. Derek Moore out of Nipmuc playing at Worcester State, 6 receptions, 80 yards and a touchdown against Mass Maritime. Pat Ricard, the former Prouty standout playing at UMaine, 8 tackles and a sack against URI. How about Zach Grasis? Just talked about him for WPI, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns against RPI. And Brian Hayes on the other side of that rivalry game, the West Boylston standout playing for RPI, had 9 solo tackles to lead the team in a win over WPI. We hope to see you next week, but first we'll see you Friday on the Frenzy.